Whew. Peace, 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 peace. I know it's been a minute. Greetings. Give an honor to Source. Give an honor to, the Most High, Creator. Whatever your higher power is, I give gratitude. You should give gratitude as well for having to experience what we are experiencing right now. But anywho, without further review, no, I'm just kidding. This is gonna be like bon appetit. Like, this is gonna be an amazing topic right now. I'm really trying to get this sun that's beaming in, even though the weather is kind of chilly outside, but for some reason this feels like a good 80 degrees right now with the sun. So I got my tea. I might need to make some more because just going through some major shifts right now. The body, the mind, emotions, so forth. But clap it up for yourself upon your journey. Oh my gosh. Woo! The energy. Woo! The places, the people, the environments. Woo! Woo! That sun. Phew! Okay, anywho. Wow. So this topic, oh my gosh. I'm really so honored. Like, I've been in a deep reflecting moment like a lot here lately when it comes to addressing whether you want to talk about retrogrades or whatever. But I have been in a deep review or reflecting, more so I can use the term woundings, or more so and or scars from, and seeing the wisdom in a lot of things, and just finding more joy and realizing how much I love to speak and share these messages. Like, it brings me so much, like, when I get so much clarity and joy, and coming here to feel, a place where now I feel like I can feel more secure within myself to share these messages, and just seeing the beauty and the growth within myself and everyone involved. One of the most deep reflective things that I've been doing here lately is becoming more at peace with what is happening. I was speaking to an elder, and we had an amazing exchange. There's a quote that says, or if I recall, is that, would you rather be at peace with the world and at war with yourself, or at war with the world and at peace with yourself? After making that comment to her, she was like, I got something to add to that. And I was like, open to listening. And she said, well, there's more to it. The importance of even the state of the world, being at peace with that. And I was like, wow. And that in itself, I pondered on for hours, maybe a day or two, still like reflecting on that. That in itself is one of the most challenging things that I feel individually and collectively that we are all challenged with right now, or battling, is that it's not just so much being at peace, but it's also what did that peace stems from, and how can it relate to how you show up for yourself, and even seeing the world in it like in an apocalyptic state or just ever changing. Can you be at peace with what's not only inner peace, but what's ever changing outside of you, like seeing the world just, as we know, those that are in tune and aware, seeing it just like be dismantled, the changing of scenery, the changing of status, and so many things, foundations, natural disasters, so many things that's shifting. And being so secure in that peace with self to know that I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm balanced, I'm neutral, um, I'm really good through it all, or just I'm I'm good, or I'm just just you can breathe, but at the same moment, like while the state of the world is panicking, can you find the peace within? And I'm gonna grab a cough drop or something. That'll help me for sure. Because Lord Almighty, I'm doing my best. Let me turn this water on. I gotta make some more tea. So, yeah. So, that being said, and I feel it takes a lot. Oh, shoot, my knee. I feel like it even takes a lot whether people are like, whatever you're doing, however you're showing up, just simple things like that peace looks different for everyone. Just for you to show up and get through the day says a lot where you are. For me, it's just to show up for myself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, listening to my body, resting, listening to those inklings of when to go, when to rest, honoring that being in my authentic self to where I don't have to be concerned about how others view it or see it or judge it. So yeah, I'm gonna do this the best way I can. I just need this for now to help soothe my throats. So again, that's one of the most challenging things right now, is to, no matter where you at, career, the status, wherever you at in your life, just take a moment and breathe. No one has it all together. No one. It's like, what's so amazing is like babies are still being birthed. People are still transitioning, what some may call, death. And all of it is literally beyond our control. So the truth is, from my perception of it, relating to sources, that no one's in control. This false perception of people who were so-called these powers or whatever, there's always something greater, or has always been something greater to oversee or overshadow everything that's going on. So with that being said, y'all bear with me because it's a good cough drop. So this topic is so vital. I really got excited, and this is how I know it's something that I love to do. I've always loved talking to people that know me. And I always found myself, no matter what my circumstances were at the moment, situation, I always found a way to, which I'm becoming a better listener, but I've always found a way to always give people, like, some may say that's poison, which they may not like, but some may see it as a cure or something that can be, holistic in a way, a certain message that needs to be delivered. And I always found myself doing that when I was younger, and or through now, where I'm at, is sharing something, some type of wisdom or knowledge or something. And I always naturally had this come from the perception of, or perspective of, my life in a way, or basically just give and share, having a way with words in a way to empower, make others feel good. And it's also been on the opposite spectrum of that as well, due to my own inner conflict. But more so, I've always had this this knack, or this way of sharing something to empower all involved. Now, through that process, what I'm going to speak on relates to a lot of that. And something has been knocking, and I had to speak about it. And it has a lot to do with self-concept, or some may call like self-image. Now, the beauty of this is that it all can be related to self-confidence. I wrote notes here, but your self-esteem, this connecting to self-love, self-care, self-improvement. And I was just researching, and I came across this this website, and I don't know if I may jack this up, but it says, the name says I want to say it says Transiam or Zam, but or it could be saying Transam or I am. I don't know. I will share this in the community, by the way. So I don't, I haven't been too fond of trying to pronounce certain things. I really don't care, but it's funny because when I was younger in elementary, I believe I won the spelling bee, but when it comes to pronouncing and speaking certain stuff, I got what they call like that southern twang or drag or whatever, but I know how to switch my voice up very well, as you can see. So I know how to change it, but but anywho, I came across this website when I was researching and rising, and talking to my partner about this, and it was very intriguing. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to talk about this. So, self-image is so big right now, and always have been. My immediately, when I first, Spirit was revealing to me about self-image, I was like, okay, is this just an external thing? And I'm like, let me dive more deeper into it. So again, sometimes I feel like a life coach, but a lot of which I go off from my own experience. So a lot of what I read or have taken notes from has come from this website. But the beauty of it is like I'm able to interpret it, somehow mesh it or connect it with my own experience, and to find what I like to call like a solution to a lot of what problems that stem to the wounding or childhood experience, or our inner child. This whole self-image and how we have developed our self-esteem. So this website starts by saying it all begins with your self-image, and this was published, it says, July 2018. So I'm going to read this and basically go into like this like dialogue or whatever from my own experience, and collectively how this is so vital. It's like a lot of things I like to talk about is getting to the root. And when you go to the roots, to the darkness of what has happened, then you're able to see why this fruit, which is ourself and our kids, will produce these certain behaviors or these certain things, or some may call spiritually generational curses or generational traumas, or certain things that had developed over time or through the years. So, okay, one moment, I'm gonna get this tea because I need it. So yes, this was so good because I was like, oh my gosh, I can relate this so much to my childhood, and just when I read this, I love this shit, man. I really love this shit because it's like I just love it. It's like growing up. Again, the experience of those of you that know have been shunned or trying to be silent so much, and not realizing like, yo. There's nothing, no one can stop from, what the divine or source or God has anointed or called upon your life. And what I realize is that how things have evolved, if it's your calling to reach the nations, your nation reaching could be through an aspect of your natural abilities, your gifts. Doesn't always have to be what society or what someone else feels how you're going to reach people by, preaching or being things as such. It's much more bigger. And that's why I'm here to let you know. I feel like I had to say that, is that certain platforms or certain places of where you at is, you're not only there to bring justice, but you're also there to help awaken or plant seeds in others who have been seeking the clarity or confirmation or the security in knowing what they're doing is in alignment. And I'm here to let you know it is. You know, if it feels good, like it's a joyous feeling like I felt, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a little kid. Because I love, since I was younger, I love, if you want to call it drama or improv, or I love communications. I love to just be in being the authentic version, which I'm going to speak about when it comes to this self-concept or self-image of self, or how we develop that. In that process of me being where I am, and the challenges, that it's a beautiful thing to return to that and be restored with that innocence. Knowing I can be myself no matter what I look like, no matter what my hair, such and such, no matter my career. So again, let me get into this. This is so good, y'all. I'm telling you. So on this website, just gonna read and skim over some things. And it says, your self-image is a mental picture that you carry of yourself, which is which is quite resistant to change. It not only depicts the details that others see on the outside, for example, your weight, height, or coloring, etc., but also it is about how you feel about yourself inside. Imagine having a magic mirror that not only reflects your physical features, but also allows you to view other aspects of yourself. And what I would like to call that is like what some may call, like when you're doing shadow work, or your shadow selves or versions of yourself that, again, through childhood, which is going to speak about experiences, is that these are that mirror, that inner mirror. It says magic mirror, like reflects back our inner wounds or versions of ourselves that we have neglected. So, let me see. It says when you look into the magic mirror, who do you see? More importantly, your self-image is the starting point of your journey to achieving your goals. It is almost impossible to gain self-esteem, self-confidence, self-competence, and eventually self-accusations, actualizations if you do not have a good self-image. Your self-image can be broken down into two key areas. For one, y'all can note this if you want to. Like I said, I'm going to share this in the community, my community center or thing on YouTube. Number one, self-image resulting from how you see yourself. Whew. Number two, self-image resulting from how others see you. Wow. So I'm going to scroll down because a lot of this is, let me see. This is a good one right here. And I wrote this down here too. It says, your inner image. This is higher self, inner child, like others may call it, or your inner light. Your inner image is developed from a very early age and will have been impacted by your genes, early childhood, personal and professional experiences, school, college, friends, family, as well as your environment. This will all have to lead to building your self-esteem and self-awareness. OMG. Okay, that's too hot to sip. I was about to say sip tea. Let me tell you something. Your inner image. I'm going to read that again. Your inner image is developed from a very early age. This is from childhood development. And I love this because you're talking about the foundations of what your image, your inner image, and how that developed. Um, it says how it been impacted by, or yeah, since your early age and will have been impacted by your genes, early childhood, and I would like to say experiences, personal or professional experiences such as school, college, friends, and family, as well as your environments. And this will have led to building your self-esteem and self-awareness. Let me tell you something. I may do a whole other video on this because there's so much to cover and so much to just unlock, and like, oh my gosh, because um and it's why I want to show y'all this, because I just finished this masterpiece, but I just want to show. Oh, that's gonna fall down slow. Okay, that's cool. I want to show y'all this because this says a lot. Go ahead and get that activation. This says a lot about self-image. Oh my gosh. The key to unlocking your treasures within you. This is so beautiful. This so relates to right now. Like the self-image. I should have just did a video like with that in the background, but I'll do another one. So that inspires me to look at. It's funny how I do masterpieces and it relates to what I'm speaking about. It's just so aligned. But anywho, your inner image. For one, like, I can relate so much to this because developing my own inner image, and this goes all the way back from how we develop our own self-esteem and own self-awareness around how we show up in the world. And I was expressing to my partner, I was like, just think about how many people have their self-image or the self-concept. And it says self-concept is measured on how you view yourself. So just think about how people, their self-concept of and or self-image, how that has developed throughout from their childhood experiences and their interaction with those that loved them, and what were their self-image or self-concept around how they view themselves. Oh my gosh. So you're talking about the fact of how dealing and interacting with people in environments, because it's talking about your environments and people who had low self-esteem. So if we're talking about the development of self-esteem and self-awareness, everyone's perception, everyone individually, even myself, my own, from my own childhood experiences and what I experienced in school and even colleges, friends or whatever. And when I can relate, and how I relate to that so much is when I see how their self-image and how they view themselves truly reflected how, how it was more focused on, because you're talking about a society or people that has been so focused on the physical, their self-image of how others view them. I think y'all hear me. And I was expressing to my partner, or I was saying to myself too as well, I was like, wow, this self-image thing has really, I battled with that for so many years through not only the environments in my childhood, but through my relationships and how I showed up. And this is why, I can connect that to even how you're talking about how people showed up in a material aspect. Their self-image or our self-images, an inner dialogue. Truly, we developed this concept or how we viewed ourselves from others' inner dialogue, how that has trickled down to us, and how that has affected how we show up and how we see ourselves, whether unconsciously, but subconsciously we have been programmed with this. I mean, this is the state of humanity right now. This is the mental illness right now, because it's talking about your inner image. When you look at your inner image that you have developed from your childhood, it doesn't matter if you had a family who had all this money. And then you're talking about a father or mother or people who had an image to uphold. I don't care if it was royal. I don't care if it was, anything as such. the value of where that self-image, or how that self, how you viewed yourself, no matter what externally you had, where did your value lie within that? And so I realized, we're talking about a society, you're talking about schools, colleges, and just learning from my own experience and with my friends, is that a lot of, you're talking about whether it's in the 90s or so forth, a lot of our self-esteem was built upon men who were like just so-called rappers or basketball players, or certain things that, again, we developed from the insecurities of our mothers and fathers, or from their own views of how they see themselves, and not fulfilling their purpose, and them having to live out whatever it is that they haven't addressed within themselves, by curiously living out their unfulfilled dreams, or not fulfilling anything, trying to, how could I say this, like, by curiously trying to live it out through their kids. And that reflects a lot of how you have, or what we have seen in humanity. Is like, people, they're more concerned about their outer image. And that's what it talks about too, is the inner image is how we have built our self-esteem and self-awareness. So when you look at the self-awareness on the behavior of the kids, the adults, and a lot of us right now, the self-aware isn't built upon or around self-love, self-confidence, a positive self-image in a way. So when you look at a lot of these environments, because it talks about the environments, when you look at our environments that we have been in, this is why I battle with it a lot. I develop a concept of taking on these ideologies, or these different roles. And I talk about this in another video, of multiple personality disorder. And that relates so much to the self-image. Something like, how do I view myself to the depths? Have we really asked ourselves that? And then, are we more concerned of how others view us? So that talks about the outer image. It says, never judge a book by its cover, but that's exactly what we do. What is seen on the outside gives the very first impression to others, and will leave them with a lasting impression, whether that be good or bad in some people's eyes. This can come from many forms, including what we wear, our hairstyle, makeup, tattoos, body piercing, our posture, and the way we speak, and or the way we shake hands. Oh my gosh. And that's just the outer appearance. So we're talking about, if we don't know the value and and how we have developed our self-image through the likeness of others, rather than liking and accepting and embracing ourselves, then, and truly, the abandonment issues, or the neglect we develop from others neglecting their own inner child or self-image, of not accepting or living up to their fullest potential, or being their authentic self. So a lot of what these behaviors a lot of us have developed, again, is more focused on the outer appearance. It says, never, we always use that, never judge a book by its cover, but that's exactly what we do. And it's so vital, because the outer appearance is mostly what you see right now in humanity, and the neglecting the inner image, or inner child, or inner self, higher self, what really people want to hide, is a lot of what we see is people who have truly low self-esteem, or have no awareness of self. And so that's why we see a lot of people project their own insecurities or their own woundings onto others. Because of this is, I was telling my partners, I said, it makes a lot of sense why people would attack or have this concept or this judgment because of what they develop in the matrix or what they develop in their childhood or what they develop over time and not even having no type of self-awareness. So it's easy for them to project onto others. I expressed to her like, this even goes back to, and I'm gonna get more in the inner image. This even goes back to how me battling with that. And I had a recent, is it really hot? I had a recent encounter with getting some gas at a gas station. This is not the first time. And this lady, and I'm gonna touch more on what this inner image and how it connects to even the outer image of how people don't even realize that their whole concept of how they view themselves really reflects on how they view others. And I also have been affected by this and also, been on both sides of it. Me getting gas the other day and me getting out, and sometimes people's stature, how they speak, and it talks about that, like how people speak, their hairstyle, and so forth. When people see my hair, see, this and this, and I get out, I'm like, um, here I am just about to pump gas, and I can just feel a lady looking at me. And again, it just talks about this, the inner image, or it talks about how the how relating to because hold on, did it talks about that? Yeah, it does. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to connect how the self-image relates to how when it talks about weight, height, and color, because and this is through development, and this is through how we all don't even realize how we're affected by this. But I'm here to shatter the illusion of it. If you're in a city and or a town that is predominantly, what some may call Caucasian, or whatever nationality people are, and of a fair skin, because I'm not going to classify people as just one thing, because that's one thing on here on this channel that I do not get in, because this has a lot to do with self-image, and I'm going to break that down to the freaking T from how Source really sees it internally. And from my perception as well. So me getting out again in a place I know that is predominantly as such fair-skinned people, and I don't know their development. I don't know what they've experienced with people as as such. So I'm getting out about to pump gas, and I could just feel this lady looking, and you could just feel those who are in tune, empath. You can just sense and feel the fear. Never met the lady. That's just, her getting out, just kept looking and just afraid. And I just laugh. Like, I just laugh because people, they really, ignorance is truly bliss to me, because people have really developed. And this goes back to the inner image. It's like, whether, I don't even know her experience with people that are of darker shade or whatever. And if she even have had experience or even used to seeing people there that look like me per se. So she, you could just sense the fear and just look like she was very uncomfortable. So I just go in the store, get something, come back out, and it's still like, I'm just laughing. Like, I pump the gas, and she gets, after she finished pumping her gas, she gets back in the car. And as I finish, I get back in the car, and she just looking through the window like, here she is, where the gas pumps are. You on this side, I'm way on this side. And to where she just as soon as she gets back in after pumping her gas, she immediately looks and locks the door. And I'm just like, whoa. I'm just like, wow. And so I'm expressing to my partner these things. And this makes me bring up a lot, again, how that relates to the outer image, a house so simple we judge a book by its cover, not knowing no one's inner conflict, inner battle, and more so like me having to get to where I am, having grown up in environments like this as such, especially those that aren't aware of the South, or those of you that maybe are global or international. The South is a term to where, people that grow up in certain states like Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, just to name a few. They call that the South because this was a place that predominantly dealt with a lot of self-hatred, I like to call it, or racism, or just things as such where people despise or hated people because of their outer appearance, their color. And this, I like to tell people, this happens everywhere. At the time, years ago, I dated someone that was Filipino. I don't even know if that's she was from the Philippines, but I don't know if that's a nationality or not. But she was lighter skinned, and I'm glad I'm talking about this because it talks about the outer appearance, how we simply judge a book by its cover, and just how the misconception or just the programming, and this goes all from school to colleges. This is breaking out all these bullshit ass foundations where we don't even realize, like, through the how we viewed ourselves, these foundations, universities and places have had their hand in the programming of that. And we don't even realize, like, through television and so forth and all of that, that has played a major part in leading to how we show up with our self-esteem and our self-awareness around being a certain color, being a certain status, having a certain this, and all these things to the divine means absolutely nothing when you're here and having a mission and focusing on what you're doing and living in a prosperous and abundant life. So again, the sister at the time that I was dating was from the Philippines, and she told me this story. I was like blown away, but it brought everything back into like the bigger picture of it all. Because I'm here to break this whole illusion around, like, when people talking about majority, minority, and so forth, because we don't realize how much we have been programmed, or how much is almost like mind control from what you've taken on, even to the certain religious figures. And I tell my partner all the time, even to movies where you see a predominantly people of a certain shade and people who play heroes. I mean, this shit goes so deep to the development of who we are as people, as human beings, or as, relating to the self-image, which mentally, and not only if it's mentally, it's inside your mind, it's visually. And that goes to the fact of, again, the sister was telling me how, when she would go home to the Philippines, she would see people of darker shade, and she was a lighter shade Filipino, and they would treat her like, with utterly disgust, like would not accept her. And I'm like, what? And so that makes me want to let people know, even here, whatever you want to classify myself, because let me tell you something, I do not subscribe to black. I could care less about that. I be telling people that all the time. I'm like, black is an adjective. White is a color, all these things. And we don't even realize the programming in colorism and how all of this, when it comes to the internal aspect of who you are. We want to run from these things. Like the lady, she was more afraid of herself to even saying, hey, how are you, to where she developed whatever concept around how she viewed herself to even see someone of a darker shade to not to engage or be afraid of. For me, I've dealt with most of that my whole, like, majority of my life in the schooling settings. And so, again, when she told me that about what she had went through, and I was like, you kidding, right? And that goes to the majority of the world. The majority of the world is of darker shade. That's scientifically, when you look at the spectrum of light, when you look at how everything illuminates from the dark. And this is not to make anyone seem superior or inferior. It's just what things have been done, even in the school systems, even in the colleges, even in the friends and families and environments that we all have been subjected to or all have been affected by. So when she told me that, I was like, wow, why are these people not accepting of you? This is no different. This is why I be calling judgment on countries around the world, because I came across this channel when I saw this guy that was it was the first time people, he was darker, but he was classifying himself as black. Because again, this is a term that has, when you talk about the evolution of self-hatred of racism, what y'all call it, the terms have evolved. When you look at, what is it called in negro in Spanish, that's the color of a crayon. So you're basically saying negro, nigus, those that do know what the word means, nigus, emperor. But it's the terms that have been switched and classified to categorize and automatically create division in a way to where it's like it automatically divides. That's why I don't like to use the term, I stay away from the black and white stuff, because I've had and seen those experiences. And this is what I realize, is that this has been developed since people's childhood. Their self-hatred that stems from whatever they experience in their environments has been an internal dialogue that they've had passed to their kids. There's people that still to this day live that way. They don't want people to have anything to do with people, whether a lighter shade or, well, they don't want to have people anyone to their daughters or whatever, have anything to do with someone of a darker shade. And why is that? Why is that? And I told myself, I was like, it must be their own inner conflict or something, again, going back to whatever they experience with someone of a darker shade. So, and this would, again, when you're seeing, again, how from my own professional experience, when you're talking about these foundations dealing with basketball, football, all these things, when you look at certain things, there's so much that has developed around, so much judgment that people are only just good for certain things. And it's like, it amazes me even how people just accept that norm, and immediately how they're judged by what they wear, their hairstyle. I was telling my partner, I was like, and this is the thing that, again, you're telling people, you're in a country or an environment, you're telling people, and this goes back to the school environments where you're talking about uniforms when we were kids. You're talking about how indigenous or Niji people, where their hair was cut or certain things happened, where you want to call them natives or whatever, where a lot of things were centered around control. A lot of things were centered around robotics. A lot of things were centered around the removal of their self-image, the removal of their innocence, them just showing up authentically and then classifying them as such. And we don't even see the bullshit in all of this. Because the oneness of everything, if we're all made in the image of the creator of God, none of that shit on the surface matters. Y'all make it matter because, and I tell myself too, because of the development of what, I experience in the school systems, in the environments where, you were taught to see someone and you automatically point the finger and classify them as white. I'm talking about the crazy shit to where you grow up in the South, and that's automatically this narrative or this story that's told that you're Your people came from slavery. What is that? What? Or your savior or your religion automatically is Christianity or something related to that. Well, what is that? Well, what about, and I realized like how I unraveled this dysfunction of how I was breaking down so many people's illusions of not only myself, but my own self, that I had to realize like the battles that I had with trying to show up, my self-confidence by just simply being someone of a darker shade, or getting away from that and being at peace that it's not just about my outer image. It's also about how I see myself, how the youth sees themselves, and how not only was I affected by that, but how they are still currently being affected by that. When you put them in categories, or what we even put them in categories of being the next such and such, or but what about their self-awareness about who they are and what they want to be and who they came here to be? So this says a lot, to where when people start to really see how their development of where their self-image has stemmed from. And you're not just talking about friends and family, you're talking about the school systems, you're talking about since early childhood, in these environments where are they learning to love themselves? Because when you're trying to rebuild I have to learn how to rebuild my own self-esteem around this. This was very challenging up to my 34 years of age here. Build my self-esteem around, and regain my own self-image, or heal my inner child and return to that innocence of how I should show up in this world. And does that matter about my outer experience? I mean, my outer appearance, my outer image per se. Does it matter? It took me a while to even get to the fact of like, I could care less about how my hair looks. Let me just let it flow naturally. When I look at nature, it reflects that. If I see God or the creator sources in everything, not just people, it's in everything. And when I see that, there is no control. The only illusion of control is the people who assuming that they can control in a way of fear. And see, this is where the division has come in, because again, when you look at your self-image of who you are, where and how has that been developed? And then that connects to how you show up in the world and what your goals and what success is. And most importantly, we develop who we truly are from within, was centered around the caregivers that we had, taking on these false identities of how we should show up in the world. You're talking about different parts of the fact of, you're talking about little boys and little girls. Again, look at what they are exposed to right now. Look at what we were exposed to young. And that's how we develop who we are. So that's why it's so easy for us people, you see people judge other people, but it's like you have no idea of their inner conflict. So that's why I love traveling and exploring, because upon my travels, well, before I took that leap of faith of going to Cali, when I was like, I say back in 2016, 17, I have no regrets or shame around a lot of those things, because it really exposed me or opened me up to people from different nationalities or cultures. Like the Bay Area, I love, because it really showed me, like broadened my horizon of how people from so many different demographics or, ancestrally can live in one area. But then again, I also saw how, again, when you see the whole concept, governmental structure and all like that, when you look at people's self-image and what motivates them, it's like a rat race. It's like, where are their goals? Most importantly, their goals is, you hear a lot, and this is why, like, I told my partner, I said, I met so many people that have so much wealth or money that they don't even talk about it. So that makes me relate to my upbringing when I would see people with the Jordans or certain, when it talks about the outer appearance, how you see people stemming from their own inner image and their own self-esteem, they project or portray to the world that they have it all together. But deep down inside, they're either hurting or they're neglecting the parts of them which they've carried guilt. They don't really see the innocence in who they really are, because a lot of that, again, through the development of how they develop their self-image, has stemmed from the environments they have been in. So when you see a culture or certain people, look at, like, really see, and this is what I feel like we overlook, because you're talking about a society, again, that has been focused more on outer appearance. Your celebrities or these people around the world, don't matter who they are, I don't care what status or what title they have, royalty, I don't care about none of that. Because the integrity, really see how people show up. Because we so easily judge, but we have no idea who people are. We all have done this. I have done this. And that's why we don't even realize, like, I'm gonna tell you some real shit. That's why you see a lot of men and or women. I always see this a lot. Like, you'll see, let's say a certain person of a certain status comes around in a club or an environment or something. They're like, oh, yo, they immediately get excited because they're not realizing of the self-awareness they have is they're so focused on this person and what they have externally is because that's what they've been taught. Because they don't have no self-awareness around who they are and what their value really lies, or what is really valuable to them. So depending on who they are, depending on their inner conflict, they can either give off this false persona or, false identity, all the while trying to praise someone else externally. So let me read more of this. It says, self-image resulting from others seeing how others see you. This is a challenge, as it is likely that you won't know how others see you unless they tell you. Wow. Or you actually ask them. We have had a fairly stable view on how we see others, and we expect others to see us in the same way. This, of course, may not always be true for the following reasons. Every person has an individual way of sizing up others. A person you meet, especially for the first time, will assess you through their own unique lens. People will not always be honest with you. For example, if you do not care for you, they very rarely will tell you or tell you why. If you do not care for you, they very rarely will tell you or tell you why. Oh wow. That's After all, it's very easy to fake. I just said this. After all, it's very easy to fake expressions, so you can never know how many people you have walked away from, who you have negatively or you have had a negative first impression on you. Oh my God. I'm trying to read. Let me run that back. It is very easy to fake expressions, so you can never know how many people you have walked away from, who you have a negative who have a negative first impressions of you. Wow, that's deep. That's so deep. I'm telling you, man. Oh my gosh, the reason I talk about these subjects, and it can make it seem like it's sporadic or whatever, but let me tell y'all, man, I myself battle with this a lot. Even to this present day to where I get a lot of clarity on even the false identity that I developed in what some may call the matrix or in the world. And it was centered around others' inner dialogue of me. And it wasn't truly rooted, even though like there's been a balance because I was naturally rebellious. And I heard a sister say, what is her name? I think it's Tay. I forgot. This sister was saying how be a rebel. Don't be a rebel without a cause. Be a rebel with a cause. And I realized, like, I was like, wow, that's me. Because cause and effect. And I realized that when I look at these terms, and like I said, it's perception. But man, just reading that, every person, like I can tell from my own experience meeting other men who, let's say their status or what they have. And it says every person has an individual way of sizing others up. And the insecurities or whatever they're battling with would be so loud. And I realized my light or whatever within me as an empath, people will naturally, and a lot of us can relate to this, they will naturally expose themselves or to you because of the light within you. And it's not, and you will be like, I don't care to hear that. Like, you have this, but so what? And I've been in connections like that. I've been like where it was so competitive. And I see how through how we have developed, how we internally see ourselves, and how you see in the world with this men versus women thing, or this person against this person, this versus when you see in these foundations, when you sports, all of this stuff. And even the self-image that has been developed around people's certain characters. If you strip all of that away, they wouldn't have, I tell you, like, they will have no idea who they are. And this is why you will hear the saying goes like, it's in you and it's not on you. So imagine stripping all these things away that people, which you're seeing right now in the last shall be first, is that truly, like, do we really know who people are to the depths, and do they really know themselves? So in that, I've learned that authenticity cannot be threatened. And that was the most challenging things through me battling my own inner conflict and my, at the time, low self-esteem, no matter if I was modeling, no matter if I was showing up, with all these things, looking like this, dressing up in a certain way. I realized that, the divine was always trying to show me that it's in you, it's not on you. And that's what a lot of us are coming to that awareness of. Is like, I realized, like, throughout these years, I was like, you know what? I used to wonder why certain, people will say or try to size me up or try to portray themselves as this without me really having to say anything or do anything. Because the divine was always trying to show us since we were young, but through the dysfunction and what we have been programmed to believe, is that it's always been in us and will always be. So no matter if I show up to a meeting where you're talking about signing a contract or whatever it is, I'll show up in some slippers. I'll show up in whatever else, because I was telling my partners, I was like, I don't care. Because why should it matter? Because in the world, you see people who, just because they show up as such, just because they have all these glitz and glam, again, you remove and strip them from all these things. Who are they truly? But this goes back to, again, the outer appearance. We easily will judge someone, whether good or bad or whatever it is, knowing that a lot of us can typically, where now, know authentically that these people aren't showing up as such, or we are very aware that, we look past what people are giving for face value. So, again, we all have been affected in a way to see how we have been more swayed to be concerned about how our self-image, the results of that, of how others see us, stemming to our career, the status, money, or what we have. And I'm just like, yo, I really had the peace that I have come to within myself is that I could give a fuck. I could care less. I've been having to deal with that and reflecting in these last, in this Aquarian age and how many things have shifted. Is that's what has been the highlight with the identity crisis and the mental health, because internally people really, to the core of things, they really want to show up. I don't care if they want to show up as a superhero every day. I don't care if they want to get a blanket and show up and run around. And some people may call that strange, but I've been in environments where people actually do this, like in Cali or going traveling the world, where people actually just show up. But that's what has been demonized or criticized so much. What some may call constructive criticism, or what we may deem as successful. Success from whose perception? From whose dialogue? From who? What is success? When you look at humanity, when you look at what is successful because of what? This person has this car, this person lives this way. What is success to you, though? Success can be simply me showing up, getting some rest, being there for myself. That's a successful, I accomplished something. That was a goal right there. My goal is to simply can make it through the day. If someone's healing where I'm healing through no longer like, self-inflicted things or, healing through showing up for self-care or something, that right there in itself is an accomplishment. That's a goal that I've set to rest. That's success. And it looks different for everyone. But when you look at the fact of how we all have showed up with these fake it, we kept these, man, I'm telling you, if there's anybody that I know that have faked it, can fake it so long, it's not just what y'all call people in the hood or wherever. This is everywhere. The best actors are the people who don't live their authentic selves. Let me say that again. The best actors are the people who don't show up as they self. And pay attention to what you see in the world. These are the best actors. These people, everyone is playing a role. These are the best actors right now. That's the thing, I realized, whoa. It's so mind-blowing because in the process of rebuilding at a time when I developed low self-esteem, I realized that was never my inner dialogue. Well, it was accountability to seeing what I took on in dysfunction. But in reality, I realized that came through cutting people off, allowing them to eclipse out of my life, allowing things that no longer serve me to just fall away, whether it be dealing with the schools, environments, all these things. It just didn't resonate with me. And it may look different for everyone else, but there was a lot of judgment on that. And that right there in itself, it's the consistency to still get through that. I had to really battle with a lot of what I didn't realize at the time was my self-identity or self-image of myself. Because I realized there was different parts of me that, and we all can relate to this, different parts of me through my what I may call my self-image or the self-concept of myself, is that I care more at the time how others view me than how I view myself. That shit was So then I realized that these behavior patterns that I develop will I pour so much into others rather than myself. Because if I don't pour into me, that's how I develop. That's where the self-awareness comes in, and the self-confidence. And I realized that as I became more self-aware, I realized that was intimidation to people who was not self-aware or who had low self-esteem, is because I was confident in what I was doing. I was confident in creating. I was confident in whatever I was doing, whether even battling with low self-esteem, with modeling, fashioning, just a lot of stuff, I still realized that I still had the confidence and the courage to still go out there and do it. No matter how much I showed up or, there was just something within me. It didn't matter people's status. This is something I was young. I was like, it didn't matter. I was telling my partner, I was like, you're talking about a culture of people who was so fixated on how other people felt about them. If they don't live this way, they don't have this car, they don't have the. You're talking about a country that has created this this narrative around this. No one's exempt. That's where you get your favoritism from in certain family dynamics or whatever. And I realized like it was just showing me like, wow, how I see myself also reflects my princess, my partner, whomever else. So when it really starts with you, it really does. It was a wow how I cared so much about, I got to look this way, or I got to dress this way so they accept me. And you see that in careers. You see that highlighted when people, they want them to cut off their hair. Man, fuck them schools, fuck them environments, man. Once you start calling back your energy and really doing, like, I encourage people to create an outlet for yourself. That's what really being your authentic self is that you'll see how inauthentic the world has been all along. Because they want to categorize, because your self-image is in these organizations, in these foundations. You don't even realize that. You're trying to keep up a narrative or a false identity that you don't love, that that's not rooted in truth and honesty, which is the highest vibration, authenticity. So why do you see things being dismantled right now? It's because that's what the awakening is about. It's like how beautiful it is for everyone to show up as themselves. Because that's what it's coming to. And not being concerned. You think kids, when I go be around kids, that's why I love when I'm in a library or when I'm around some kids or something, they don't care. They don't care unless what they've seen and what, how their image has been developed or the self-concept or what their mother and or environments. If you expose them to just basketball or certain things young and you telling them, hey, you're going to be this, you're going to do that, they're going to take on that. So then they see someone, let's say I've been somewhere and I'm taller, I look like someone, oh, you look like you famous, oh, you look like you play, da-da-da-da. And sometimes we don't even know unconsciously, we'll take on that narrative. Like, I gotta be this. I was in that. I thought I had to be that. And that was never true. When I reflect on my life, I had to go through those different stages, like phases of like a caterpillar. I had to go through those stages of self-doubt. I had to go through those stages of dysfunctionality, dealing with, again, all centered around self-awareness. All these things, the image that we have developed. Really ask yourself, where that inner dialogue or who and how you're showing up, where does that stem from? Who is telling you how to be and what you should be? This is a connection that people want to talk about they have to God. I'm like, but if you have a calling or you're choosing or say you're chosen, it says, be ye not conformed to this world. So while you're praising these people in these places and all that, they're conforming. They've already accepted and conforming. I don't care what status and all that they have. That's the role that they're playing. But can you be at peace when people are warring within themselves and so they choose to war with you? But in you choosing to be at peace, whether they choose, your enemies will become at peace with you. Because that's the thing about the faith. I had to realize I had to have faith in knowing that I know since I was young I didn't come here. But I had to go through those different phases of how I develop this inner dialogue, this image of what others feel like I should be, the developing that through TV. That's another topic. Like I remember I used to watch, certain television shows, and on these television shows, there was only a certain people that looked like they were happy. I told my partner that, I was like, you portray to the world, to kids, that a certain people that look a certain way, they're only happy, that they only are successful. And people don't even realize they got this image of people in their head. And truthfully, this all of our shit. No one can tell me what's not. If I was given these gifts, these natural abilities to do what I'm here to do, like Pac said, I just want to spark that one mind. And that's all it takes. It only takes one spark to light a fire. And that fire has an effect to change. When the wind, all the elemental things, that fire has the force to ignite or spread throughout the whole world, through the whole, starting wherever it is. And that's what you are here to do. That's what I know I'm here to do. It's like the phoenix rising. So I realized that I took on so many other people's narrative of the image of how I should be and on what I should show up. And it talks about how your self-esteem affects the way you interpret messages from others. You can choose to view some negative messages as constructive criticism. But know this, your self-esteem does not have to suffer from negative or people projections or their insecurities. Your self-esteem does not have to suffer from others' perception or projections, of you or of themselves. You have the power to control your self-esteem. In a sense, it's like it's your birthright. Your self-esteem, your self-improvement, your self-confidence, the self-love, the self-care, it all begins with you. Everything. That's how the world is changing right now. Is that you're talking about environments that did not did not feed us the importance of self-awareness. We wasn't fed the importance of self-awareness. We was fed the fear, others' perception, projections. We were fed it was poison. That's the reality of it. So what do you think the cure is to self-abuse? Self-love. What do you think the cure is? The poison. It's for people. If we've been divided, what do you think the cure is? To see the oneness and the unity in all of it, the unity consciousness. What do you think all these things that stem around all of this, what do you think or assume is going to be the opposite of what you're seeing in the world? These structures that have been built and being destroyed right now or dismantling. These foundations that have been built on the opposite of self-awareness. You're not teaching the kids and the youth to be self-aware of their emotions, of their mental state, of their imagination, of loving themselves, so they can show up and have, to be self-confident. You're telling, it's like we all have been affected by this. So when we pass judgment and be like, no, say that the reason we have had no guidance because who were there to guide us in a way? To self-awareness, to be self-aware of what we're doing and how we are affecting others. The opposite of self is others. Well, we have been so more focused on the outer image or the appearance, rather more than our own inner appearance or inner image. So in rebuilding that, you have to see the aspects of the environments, the schools, the people, the friends, I told you I battled with that so much. I had to sit back and been reviewing and reflecting so long. I'm like, whoa. I've really been around people who have had no self-awareness on what their mental health, their emotional health, their physical well-being. And in that, whether they're unconsciously knowing it, it's still affecting me subconsciously. And so those fears subconsciously come up to make us self-aware. Because it's in you, source, the God, the creator. It's in you, the voice that you don't have to say nothing is in you. So these things that people don't even realize they idolize, you're looking for this outer creator, God, something in a way which is both hand in hand, but you're looking for something that is, again, it's in you, it ain't on you. So if we're teaching the youth, especially, the importance of how vital their self-esteem is and their self-awareness, how what they do will affect will affect not only themselves but others, their behaviors. We haven't had that shit. Let's be real. We haven't had that, people. Like, come on. And to even make it seem like we had, no, that's the dysfunction in it. Because we've ignored it so long. It's been suppressed so long. We've been suppressing it so long. You're talking about these and these places, foundations, or what do you want to call them? Jobs, all this stuff. There's no they don't care about your well-being. There's no self-awareness around, hey, how are you doing today? There's no self-awareness around none of that. It's selfishness of them. And you wonder why this stuff is falling apart. And it's the importance of being at peace with yourself right now. A lot of us are just at peace, knowing that, it's happening as it should. So again, peace and love and clarity to you all. Take care of you. It's okay. A lot of us are resting to prepare, but there's more to come. I just want to share that with you. I know it may sound like it's all up, but let me tell you something. I trust that it's something in there that you got, and I'll share, whatever it is in my community. But let me tell y'all something, man. The reason why the state of the world and why things are being restored and balance is being brought back, because there was no awareness of self. There was very few people who had awareness of self, and now the awakening is about the self-awareness on the state of, the collective and individually. Ponder on that. Peace and blessings. Shalom.